Governor Ayodele Fayose, you're welcome to Hard Copy.
Thank you very much.
Well, a lot of people see you as controversial. Do you see yourself that way?
Well, controversy is part of the game politics. And for you to be seen as controversial, you have something to offer. You have something to do for your people. And most of the times, you don't have to be where everybody is on principle. Mm-hmm. So if we are all on the same page, then it's not in the interest of the average Nigerian. So controversy is good. A man in the village is not controversial because he's not in the front burner. I am in the front burner. I am a leader in this country. And I'm entitled to my voice. I'm entitled to my opinion. You can throw away whatever I say, but you won't throw me away. So, if you say I'm controversial, so be it. All good for the country and all good for development in a way.
So you do see yourself, you do realize that you could be a bit controversial in some instances?
Not a bit. I'm controversial. Like I said to you, I'm entitled to my views. You see, majority in some cases will have their way, minority will have their say. But beyond that, majority, not in all times, they may not be right at all times. So for whatever we say, for whatever opinion we hold, it is equally good for you to look at the message more. And don't forget, in politics, people brand you when you're too strong for them. Like in Ekiti, I joined politics here 2000. I've been the issue in Ekiti politics. Take it or leave it. So if you cannot get hold of me, you have to brand me as controversial. And if you say I'm controversial, I don't mind. It's all good.
Let's go to one of the statements that you've recently made. I mean, we know that only recently 21 of the Chibok girls were released by the Boko Haram sect through negotiations. You were quoted to have said that those girls were just a distraction and they really could not be Chibok girls. Do you believe that Chibok girls were ever abducted in the very first instance?
Well, let me put this way. That statement made, the very last statement made, was, in my opinion, I was referring to the issues of the judges at the time. The issues of the Chibok girls came the next day. Mm-hmm. And it was like a strategy to me to sway away the way Nigerians were reasoning at the time. And I saw it as a distraction, to be honest with you. I felt issues should be trashed out. Nigerians sometimes, we owe them explanation for our actions. As leaders of this country, either at the federal level, at the state level, the system is maturing every day. Leaders are called to account for their actions. Let me tell you very expressly, the fact that a few things are being done now, today in Nigeria, does not mean they are right. So in my opinion, I want to make it very clear that I still believe, I am still not very clear about this issue of these Chibok girls. I'm not clear about it. You might not like my view about it. You might not want to hear it. When you tell me students, about 200 students were to go for exams, and they are physics students, they are to sit for exams as physics students. The first one they brought to us cannot speak English. And the second one they brought was resisted by the Bring Back Our Girls group. When you look at the scenario, you begin to ask questions. Is this a make-believe?
This abduction happened during the time of President Goodluck Jonathan, who set up a fact-finding committee as at that time. And that committee established that these girls were indeed, in fact, I think you had over 200 of them, whom they established were abducted indeed as at that time. Did you take lightly the report of that fact-finding committee, or do you think they were just playing along?
Well, I am not aware of that report. And let me tell you expressly, in Ekiti, we probably won't have 500 physics students, or say 1,000 physics students. Are you telling me we have about 200 physics students in a school? For me, a lot of things are shrouded in secrecy, in makeup. You understand? But if they want us to believe that is the story, we keep our fingers crossed. But one thing I want you to know, in the world, particularly in our country, stories will be told one day. Look at the story of somebody coming to say that they came to me to help them do this about Fayose, to sack Fayose as governor. That story was not told then. Today it's coming out. One day, these stories will come out.
So your point on the Chibok girls is that you don't believe that these girls were...
I believe a lot of things were shrouded in secrecy. I am not convinced, with all due respect. I'm not convinced. I give you an analysis. They brought somebody who was supposed to be writing a physics exams, cannot speak in English.
You do not believe that this is because
they've taken them away for too long.
No, that there is disparity. I mean, are you aware of the levels of education that exist between the two? It would seem that, between the northern and the southern parts of the country, even if the levels can be a bit disparate.
Even if a school sat older, or it would be school sat older, cannot speak as a school sat older, he would rather be speaking in Hausa dialect. Is that what you are saying? I was with some of the teachers. One day I had an interactive section with some of the teachers. And somebody asked me, please, can I speak in Yoruba? I said, no, you can't. You can't. You are supposed to be the light for the pupils to see. You see, we are no longer in 18th century. The body language of leaders must be very clear, because we are holding these positions in trust. For me, as I want to make it very clear that I need to see some things to be convinced, not what I've seen so far.
Let's talk about the judges. I mean, shortly after we saw the DSS raid on the judges, I mean, you released, in fact, you made a broadcast, talking about the raid on the judges, and I think that we should quickly listen to a track of what it is that you said us at that time.
Why not?
Just so we can get clarification on it.
I'm particularly worried over the involvement of Justice Walter Onoge in the invasion, and I hope this is not a plot to prevent his appointment as the next CJN just because he's from the South-South region. Well,
by the involvement of Justice Walter on again.
What I want you to understand is this. Like I said, you use yesterday to judge tomorrow. You reflect on what has happened in the past to be able to look into the future. When you look at the pattern of appointment in a country with such diversity like Nigeria, when you look at the pattern of appointment in the past, you will appreciate that everybody believes that the next person in line, Justice Onoge, would probably not be appointed in order or in the manner for which they've been doing it in the past. And when you look at the events, the unfolding events, you will see clearly, while I believe that corruption is not good and should be condemned, should be fought, but you see, when you gag the judges, when you begin to harass the judges, when you begin to take certain steps, the hope of the average man to get justice will be difficult. You begin to wonder when you begin to hear that some certain people were told, well, if you do this, we'll take you on it. But if you do this, we'll let you be.
The allegation you made was that it would seem that he was going to be arrested.
No, the first thing that came on the social media and that was released at the point was that his name was part of the judges.
But upon finding out that he wasn't part of it, did you think it was right for you to have done a retraction?
Well, I spoke generally. I spoke generally. I still keep my fingers crossed to watch whether these things will happen.
Because the DSS did put out a disclaimer saying that Justice Walter Onoyen was not involved in that raid.
With all due respect, I agree with them. If he's not involved, that's good. But if he's involved, we still have to lift our voice. Somebody has to talk about these things.
But there are also those who question, your moral standing to be able to say that, what has happened right now is not right, considering what also happened in Ekiti State.
Maybe you remind me what happened in Ekiti. Are we able to give an answer to Nigerians?
There was a time when it was alleged that you supervised thugs beating up a judge in a court.
You please want to remember that I'm a politician. I'm a man in the trenches all the time against my opponents in Ekiti. And I said it earlier that when they cannot get hold of you, they brand you. They put a collar on you. That judge is alive. That judge has not made a statement since these allegations started. You called it an allegation. That judge is alive. I laid the foundation of a new court complex in Ado-Ekiti. The judge was there seated. And I said, my Lord, in the presence of other judges, it is good for you to put up a clarification. Let me tell you, as governor-elect, as governor, as a father at home, as a young man, as a student, it is immoral, improper for you to equally assault anyone. Not to say a man, a governor-elect, a will-be governor. I want to tell you very, very expressly, those things are in the imagination of the people running it.
So what transpired in the courts on that day?
May I say to you very expressly, it was a court day for my case, my tribunal, and I walked into the court. And about 5,000 people came to the court. And I walked straight to the court. And I want to remember the remarks, very clearly, the remarks of a presiding judge that day. When one of the lawyers was trying to insinuate this, the presiding judge said it very expressly, that this gentleman, he watched me from the window, telling my supporters to stay back while I walked into the courtroom. So there's no truth, no iota of truth. And I want to say it again. It will be my pleasure, because judges don't just talk, but it will be my pleasure if you can take time out to interview this judge. We are all before God, and we cannot lie forever. And may I say again, the MBA set up a panel at the time, and the reports, they still have it. So we just don't say, we just don't make up. We say it as it is. I would not imagine even slapping my own son or my housemaid, if any, not to say a sitting judge.
So are you saying then that there was no violence against the judge on that particular day, or you're saying that you're not aware of any violence that happened against
You said I
judge?
Supervised a judge being beaten.
That was the allegation.
The allegation is not correct, and I take exception. And I've given you a clue to it. It makes it easy. The judge is still alive. So we can locate him, and he will give you his version. And I would love it if I'm confronted with his version. So it's better that way. So whatever I say here before you...
You're not going to say whether or not there was any violence against a judge in your state?
May I say to you expressly, it is easier. The judge is alive. When people are alive, testimony are first-hand. You can get a testimony from this judge. I'm one call away. When you have that judge interviewed, I'll be able to defend myself.
Okay, we'll take a moment now on hard copy. When we return, we will talk about the Ekiti state law on herdsmen, and we'll also talk about restructuring. Do join us again.